Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that comes up on my own social media when chatting with other coaches, and that is when you see some of these coaches who, even if they're fairly famous, they will say things like, oh, well, I don't program the big three, right? And they'll give these crazy excuses as to why they don't program whatever basic barbell lifts. And notice it's always barbell lifts that have competition standards, that we have strength standards charts in place, and they'll always give absurd, insane reasons, right? What will those reasons be? Oh, well, I believe that the bench press just destroys shoulders and doesn't make you that strong, or the back squat is just it's all back and it doesn't build strong legs, or the deadlift is just dangerous. And they'll always replace them with, some easier lift where you either can't compare it, right? Oh, they'll be doing incline dumbbell benching in place of it. All right, which is a fine accessory lift. I have no issue with it. Or, oh yeah, we use a high handle trap bar in place of the deadlift, which for those of you who've used it and are aware, it's not uncommon to be able to do 100 or 200 pounds more on that bar than you can with a normal power bar on any version of the deadlift. And to me, a lot of that's comical, and here's why. Because I believe that in maximizing strength and building strength and developing it and reaching our full potential, that we should be using a variety of tools. Right? I'm not dogmatic about, oh, we only use the barbell lifts. Like, see, that to me, that's insane. That's insane. I like bands, chains, specialty bars, machines, dumbbells, in some cases cables, kettlebells, sleds, body weight exercises. These are all things that you'll see me prescribe to my athletes and lifters. Right? I prescribe all this stuff. Do you know why? Because a good coach knows that these are all valid tools. They're all valid tools. They have their place, they have their uses for different parts of your application. There's pros and cons of them, and quite frankly, it helps us avoid overuse, right? And that's the funniest part. They'll blame a big movement that thousands and thousands of people lift extremely heavy weights on or extremely high tonnage with and never get hurt, never have issues. And they'll make blanket statements instead of saying, well, I have some lifters, okay, because that's the key. I have some lifters who can't perform the bench press without some shoulder problems. Okay, that would be one thing. Because there's workarounds for that. Maybe their technique needs work, maybe there's muscle balance work, maybe it's just too much overuse of the barbell, or something else. Right, but this can usually be resolved, and sometimes if they have real shoulder issues, that's why things like the football bar or the Swiss bar were invented, so we can do these things pain-free in the shoulder. But you know what? You can probably move pretty similar amounts of weight. In other words, you bench 315 for 3 with a straight bar. Your football bar is going to be plus or minus 5% of that, and for a lot of people, it won't hurt their shoulder. So on and so forth. But they'll make the blanket statements. Never, I have some athletes who we can't do this lift. Which now that's believable. That's absolutely believable, isn't it? Because it's probably true. But when it's a blanket statement, oh, I just believe the back squat is all back, doesn't develop your legs, so we do this instead. Right? That's when you know they're full of shit. That's when you know you're dealing with a lying, incompetent ass coach. Because there's no way that's true. So, why do they do it? Because they have weak athletes. Okay? If you are an incompetent coach who can't actually get people strong, how would you hide that? Especially if you've got outreach, you're making good money. What happens if you're coaching for a D1 team? What happens if you got a couple NFL players? What happens if you're working out in the spotlight and people see it and you really don't know shit about getting people strong? Because you can't do it. You don't have the ability. How are you going to hide it? You're going to make sure that your athletes do not get seen doing remotely strict versions of classic lifts, even for rep work. Because my God, do you really want your 215-pound athlete to be seen struggling with 10 reps with 225 on the back squat? Do you really want anybody to see that? Oh, hell no. Or that same athlete who, 315 for 5 reps on the deadlift? Oh, God, no. Do you know why? Because then everyone's going to know that your athletes are weak. They're going to know that you're an incompetent strength coach. You don't know how to get them strong. Because, you look at that and people say, well, it's not necessarily for, yeah, it matters for their sport. And if someone is genetically gifted, if they're gifted enough to be a D1 athlete and they weigh 200 plus pounds, the worst strength coach in the world with terrible programming can get them to that level within a year. Okay? An incompetent coach can easily get them to those strength levels, almost by accident. If they're strong, they can hit those levels without even having done the lifts. Their first time under the barbell. Just teaching them how to squat. They'll build up and do that. They'll do that on a deadlift. But you don't want them to be seen doing a movement. You don't want to see them even being seen doing a barbell row. My God. If your lifters are that weak, you don't want to see them with a weighted pull-up. Probably not. Maybe, because they might actually be good at those things. But what you don't want to see is them doing a classic lift to where people can estimate their 1 rep max off their rep work and go, you know what? Your 215-pound running back can barely squat over 300 pounds. You suck as a strength coach. That's the best you can do. You don't want people to know that. So, how do you mask it and hide it? My athletes don't do these lifts, right? Then that way you can be a piss poor incompetent coach just with a big name and reputation and keep making lots of money while hiding the fact that you have no idea how to get anyone strong. Notice how many of these coaches too, when you watch them, they'll pre-exhaust their hamstrings on a hamstring curl and then do a Smith machine Romanian deadlift or something. How many times you look at them and even if they do something like that or they go do an RDL after pre-exhaustion, they use the little 10-pound plates, the rubber ones, to try to make it look like there's more than 185 pounds on the bar. Yeah. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.